A lot of fans have been asking for this one, and honestly, it's time we talk about it. Today, we're breaking down the top in-season, and even more importantly, post-season replacement options for Matt Eberflus as the Cowboys defensive coordinator, if and when he gets shown the door. Right now, the question every Cowboys fan is asking, should Matt Eberflus be fired? Drop your answer in the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Let your voice be heard, because this defense has been anything but consistent. Before we dive deeper into the list, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on everything happening around the NFL. Now, back to the Cowboys' defensive mess. The internal options aren't exactly inspiring. Andre Curtis, the current passing game coordinator, has potential, but like others such as Dave Borgonzi and David Overstreet, he's another Eberflus guy from Chicago. And let's be honest, that's where some of the biggest problems began, especially in the secondary and linebacker units. None of these coaches have ever called plays at the NFL level. So are you really going to promote someone whose position group is already struggling? J.J. Clark has play-calling experience, but only at small college programs, hardly the solution for an NFL team trying to salvage a season. If a mid-season firing does happen, one realistic internal candidate could be Aaron White-Cotton. He's worked outside the Eberflus coaching circle and might bring a fresh approach. Sure, the defensive line hasn't been great, but compared to the blown coverages in the secondary, it's looked better. Maybe with White-Cotton, we'd see more man coverage and a touch of that Robert Saleh-style aggression instead of this passive zone nonsense. At this point, though, it almost doesn't matter who the interim is, the problems go deeper. Jerry Jones has always been hesitant to fire coaches mid-season, even coordinators. But if things keep trending this way, pressure might make him rethink that policy. The Cowboys front office has a history of letting pride get in the way of progress. Remember when reports came out that Mike Nolan was on the hot seat? Instead of addressing the real issues, Dallas got defensive and refused to make a move, all because they didn't want to look like the rumors were right. That's the problem here. The organization hates the optics of firing a coach mid-season. So, will they actually do it this time with Matt Eberflus? Honestly, it's a long shot. More likely, they'll ride it out and make a move after the season ends. And even if they did pull the trigger right now, let's be real, they're not bringing in some big-name coach mid-year. You'd be limited to what's already inside the building. But once the off-season hits, that's when the door opens wide. Coming up, we're diving deep into 4 categories of potential replacements, regime change candidates, coaches who might become available if their head coach is fired. Rising stars, young minds ready for their first big shot. Currently unemployed veterans, available right now, though maybe not your first choice. And finally, experienced coordinators, proven play callers who know how to lead a defense. But before the Cowboys make any decision, one thing is absolutely critical: do a real coaching search. Don't just hire someone because you already know them. That shortcut has burned Dallas before. It happened with Matt Eberflus. It happened with Mike Zimmer. The organization trusted familiarity instead of evaluating results. Yes, it worked with Dan Quinn, but lightning doesn't always strike twice. If the Cowboys are serious about fixing this defense, they can't just recycle another familiar name. This time, the hire has to be earned, not handed out because of comfort or loyalty. And let's be honest, Eberflus wasn't even a Brian Schottenheimer choice. That decision came straight from the front office. So if things continue to spiral, the question isn't if he'll be fired, it's when. So tell me in the comments, what do you think the chances are that Dallas fires Matt Eberflus mid-season? Drop your percentage prediction below. Let's see where Cowboys Nation stands. Let's talk about the 5 regime change candidates, coaches who could become available if their current head coach gets fired or if they themselves are shown the door. These are the names worth keeping on your radar. First up, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Things have been up and down in Detroit, their defense shows flashes, but inconsistency has been a problem. Still, Glenn's philosophy of aggressive man coverage fits exactly what the Cowboys' defense needs more of. He's intense, disciplined, and defensive backs love playing for him. Next, Steve Wilks. He's been around the league, a respected veteran voice. The Cowboys are familiar with him from past connections, though he's not the most exciting option. He brings leadership, no question, but Dallas might want to aim a little higher this time around. Then there's Anthony Weaver, currently in Miami. Weaver has interviewed for head coaching jobs before and is respected across the league. The Dolphins' defense hasn't been great statistically, but that's partly due to injuries and inconsistency. Weaver still has a reputation for developing defensive linemen and building tough, physical fronts. Jim Schwartz is another intriguing name. If the Browns were to move on from Kevin Stefanski, which isn't a sure thing, Schwartz would instantly become one of the most experienced defensive minds on the market. His track record speaks for itself. He's aggressive, he's loud, and his defenses always play with edge and discipline. And finally, an underrated wild card, Leonhard Wilson of the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's offense has struggled more than the defense, but Wilson's done a solid job with what he's had. His schemes are balanced, adaptable, and his players buy in. He's not a household name, but he's earned real respect around the league. Here's something interesting. Wilson and Cowboys offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer actually worked together with the St. Louis Rams. That prior connection could quietly put Wilson on Dallas' radar as a dark horse candidate if the Cowboys start looking outside their building. These are the kind of names that could define a new era, if Dallas has the courage to make a clean break from the past. Now let's move to the up-and-comers, those young coaches who could be ready for a shot but haven't yet been a full-time NFL defensive coordinator. First name to watch, Al Harris. He's built a strong reputation working with secondaries, and his background in press and man coverage is exactly what the Cowboys need to fix their blown coverage issues. Don't get it twisted, he's not automatically the perfect hire just because fans shout his name in the comments. He belongs on the interview list, but this should be about evaluating him properly, not handing the job to the most familiar face. Here's the point for Dallas: don't repeat old mistakes. If you're listing Al Harris, or any promising young coach, make sure he earns his spot through a thorough interview process. The team that hires the next defensive leader needs to test concepts, ask for game plans, and understand how that coach would handle in-game adjustments, personnel changes, and pressure-packed moments. Being on the list doesn't equal being the hire. The Cowboys should interview broadly, measure upside against experience, and only promote a young coach if they truly prove they can lead men and call NFL-level defense. Put the promising names on the board, then do the work to separate hype from readiness. Let's keep it rolling with more up-and-coming defensive minds who deserve serious attention, names that could quietly shape the next great Cowboys defense. First up, DeMarcus Covington, currently the Packers' defensive line and run game coordinator. He's still young but has already built an impressive resume. His short stint as a defensive coordinator in New England didn't go perfectly, but anyone who knows football understands that situation was more about the team's overall chaos than Covington's abilities. Now in Green Bay, his unit has become one of the toughest against the run. That's not a coincidence. His players buy into his physical, disciplined style, and that's exactly what Dallas needs in the trenches. Next, Chris Kukurek, defensive line coach for the San Francisco 49ers. His track record speaks for itself. Year after year, the 49ers' front four dominates. Whether it's developing young talent or maximizing veterans, Kukurek knows how to bring out the best in his players. The question is whether he wants to take the next step to full coordinator duties, but make no mistake, he's ready if the right opportunity comes along. Another interesting name, Michael Hutchings, safeties coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He's just 30 years old and learning directly under Brian Flores, one of the most creative defensive minds in the NFL. Hutchings is sharp, analytical, and already turning heads among league insiders. He's one of those, get him now before everyone else does, type of coaches. Then there's Robert Livingston, currently the defensive coordinator at Colorado. Don't overlook him just because he's in the college ranks, his defense has been solid, even with personnel challenges. Before that, he spent years as the Bengals safeties coach and built a reputation for detail and player development. He's young, innovative, and brings fresh energy, something the Cowboys could use. And finally, Aubrey Pleasant, another underrated name in the mix. He's had a few interviews already and is respected for his work with defensive backs and his understanding of modern NFL passing attacks. Pleasant brings a player-first approach, blending intensity with teaching, a rare combination that earns trust fast. Each of these rising coaches represents something the Cowboys desperately need: new ideas, fresh energy, and leadership without ego. Whether they come from the NFL or the college world, the right hire here could define the next era of Dallas defense. Let's wrap up the list of rising and available defensive minds who could step into the spotlight for Dallas. Aubrey Pleasant continues to be one of the most respected defensive backs coaches in the league. A former player himself, Pleasant didn't have a long NFL career, but his coaching resume has become impressive. He's worked with the Rams, Lions, and Packers, and is now back with the Rams again. Known for his energy, his ability to relate to players, and his technical teaching style, he's earned multiple interviews for defensive coordinator jobs over the years. He's not a household name yet, but inside NFL circles, people know, it's only a matter of time before he gets his shot. So let's ask the real question: who do you want to see as the Cowboys' next defensive coordinator if Matt Eberflus gets fired? Drop your pick in the comments below, the debate's just getting started. Now, let's shift gears to the currently unemployed options, coaches with proven experience who could be available right now. Mike Zimmer headlines that group. His defenses have always carried a tough, no-nonsense identity. When things were rolling in Minnesota, he built one of the NFL's most disciplined and physical units. Still, there are questions about whether his old-school approach fits today's more flexible NFL schemes. Then there's Rex Ryan, the longtime defensive guru turned TV analyst. He's made it clear, he wants back in. But after years away from the sidelines, you have to wonder if the game's evolved past his style. Rex's fiery personality can energize a locker room, but it can also create tension. Dallas needs stability, not sideline drama. Antonio Pierce deserves a mention too. While his time as a head coach in Las Vegas had ups and downs, his defensive background and player-first mindset could make him a name to watch down the line, even if he's not ready for the Cowboys just yet. And finally, Jerod Mayo. The former Patriots linebacker brings intelligence, leadership, and the Bill Belichick school of defensive discipline. His time as a coordinator wasn't long, but the foundation is there, and if he's ready for a second chance, a young and hungry coach like Mayo could bring something fresh. Before we wrap up, one more veteran worth noting is Ryan Nielsen. He's served as a defensive coordinator for multiple teams including the Saints and Falcons. He's had mixed results, but his experience and aggressive approach still make him a name to keep on the radar. One thing's for sure, the Cowboys' next defensive coordinator decision will define this team's future. Whether it's a proven veteran or a rising star, Dallas has to get this one right. Let's move on to the experienced coaches and veteran coordinators, names that carry years of NFL knowledge and could step right in if Dallas wants a steady, proven hand leading the defense. First, Leslie Frazier. He's currently serving as an assistant head coach with the Seattle Seahawks after taking time away from Buffalo. Frazier brings decades of NFL experience, but hiring him might feel like another retread: safe, predictable, and not necessarily what this defense needs right now. Dallas has to be careful not to fall back into old habits just because a name feels familiar. One name that does stand out, Jim Leonhard. If you followed college football, you know how good his defenses were at Wisconsin. Smart, aggressive, and fundamentally sound, Leonhard built units that punched above their talent level every single year. He's now working with the Denver Broncos as their passing game coordinator and assistant head coach, bringing that same discipline and energy to the pros. At just 42 years old, he's still young, sharp, and more than ready for another shot as an NFL defensive coordinator. Honestly, he might be one of the best fits for what the Cowboys need, a fresh mind with experience and fire. Then there's Joe Cullen, currently coaching the Chiefs' defensive line. He's held coordinator roles before, including in Jacksonville, and everywhere he goes, his defensive fronts play with toughness and attitude. He's a no-nonsense coach who demands physicality, a perfect trait for a Dallas defense that's lost some of its edge. Ken Norton Jr. is another familiar name. Cowboys fans remember him as a player from the late 80s and early 90s, but his stints as a defensive coordinator, with the Raiders and Seahawks, didn't go well. Norton's an excellent linebackers coach, a motivator, and a teacher, but when it comes to coordinating an entire defense, history suggests he's better suited as a positional coach, not the top defensive voice. Finally, Don "Wink" Martindale, the longtime blitz-heavy defensive mind. If Eberflus represents conservative zone play, Martindale is the complete opposite. He attacks, constantly. Sometimes it works beautifully, sometimes it burns you, but one thing's guaranteed, his defenses never play scared. For a Cowboys team that's looked hesitant and predictable, Martindale would bring instant attitude and aggression. It might not be perfect, but it would definitely be entertaining. And don't forget, with potential staff changes coming at Michigan and across the league this offseason, even more names could hit the market soon. The key for Dallas is simple: stop recycling the same ideas and start chasing innovation. Whether it's Leonhard, Cullen, or another rising defensive mind, the next hire has to bring life back into a defense that's lost its identity.